Yeah, good morning. This is Bang Bang Rail, just a podcast this morning. Please like and subscribe. A lot of people have been talking on my comments. They want me to go back to scratch one and like me to start a story from the beginning. Yeah. Well, okay. When I was about 3 or 4, my dad died when I was 1. So my mum a widow. We had my brother Keith, my sister Diana, and it was me. Yeah. I was always the little sod, always mucking about, always playing games. Always crying. I was crying all the time. I used to suffer from migraines, really, really bad. I can remember that my mum really couldn't cope with me. You know what I mean? I was a bit much for her. And anyway, she used to take me with her most days when she was working. But it became a bit of a strain for her, so she decided to take me around her sister's house and her brother's house, sister-in-law brother's house, and that was a Ron Don and his wife Gladys. Well, my mum didn't know this, but no one knew this at the time. Only Gladys and one, or Don. And anyway, what happened? My mum used to take me there most mornings. It was in Hammersmith, and leave me there and pick me up in late evening because my mum had 3 or 4 jobs, and obviously she couldn't cope with me. I was always in trouble. I was always causing trouble with my brothers and my sisters. I was always smashing windows. I was a maniac as a kid, as a young boy. Yeah. Anyway, my mum used to leave me there, and at this particular time, my mum come and pick me up. I was with my mum. Brought my brother along, Keith, and my sister Diana. They was downstairs. I was upstairs in the loft compartment with Gladys, my auntie brother. So he's my uncle. So my brother said to me that he used to go up there and he used to do silly, all crazy things to me, make me lay naked on the bed and play with bits and pieces like his medals and his guy's medals and bits and pieces. And it was something it just going on for a long time. I can remember doing things now as a child, then as a child, that obviously doing things you wouldn't unbelievable things, sexual things to a man, to my uncle, and that made it even worse. And he get me doing sucking his bits and pieces and all them sorts of things. Anyway, this particular time, I'd go home and wouldn't really say nothing, but I'd do the same thing. This is what my mum couldn't make out. I'd be smashing windows and going mad, going mad with my brothers and sisters, fighting them all the time, always getting bashed up by my brothers and sisters. But I was only a kid, young kid, and I just couldn't cope with me. Yeah. Anyway, this particular time, I'm upstairs. My mum took me to Gladys and my brother, my uncle house, and I was upstairs in the loft. No one knew nothing, but no, only Gladys and my uncle, what was going on. Not what's going on, but what he was upstairs. Anyway, and all of a sudden, one day my brother's gone upstairs. This is what my brother's told me later on in my life, about 6 to 10 months ago. I was going mad when he told me it made me mad. It made me more worse. Anyway, he said that he come upstairs and I was laying in the bed, face down on the bed, and my uncle, his arsehole was walking around half naked, and my brother, he shushed my brother out of the room, told me to go down. This is what my brother was telling me. I don't know, I can't really remember too much because I didn't want to remember, and it's anyway. So he shushed my brother downstairs. He said, and my brother said that he felt a bit uneasy about it and all this that and the other, but yeah, this guy sexy anal sex me, yeah. But it must mean it was something that hadn't been done before. It was other sexual favours that I was doing for him that I didn't think was wrong because I was a child, telling me not to tell my mum and this, that, and the other, and because of what might happen. Anyway, and then and he anal sex me, yeah, and and anyway, after anal sex and he done what he had to do, um, I went downstairs, got dressed. I went downstairs, got dressed, and I had a little pair of shorts on, little grey shorts, and my mum had no money. A lot of things were too big for us or too small. You know, big shoes and all this that. Now my mum put cardboard at the end of the shoes, so we, you know. But my mum had no money, love her heart. You know, when she worked fucking hard, my mum, you know, and she couldn't cope with me, mate. It's one of the things. Anyway, and we got on a bus called a trolley bus. In them days, it was run by electric over the head, and now they're doing electric cars. It doesn't make no sense, does it? It's like, oh, like in them days, electric, and now it's running. They want to go back to electric. Anyway, on these trolley buses, I'm upstairs, and you know, my brother and sister sitting on a seat opposite. I'm sort of like there. My mum said, "Come and sit on my lap," you know. So I sat on my mum's lap. Also, my mum threw me off, really smacked me hard. You little sod, you weed over my dress, yeah. But when my mum looked, it wasn't wee, it was blood. It was blood coming from my backside, yeah. So my mum started really crying. There was all white stuff all over my top. She asked me what it was. I didn't really know. I don't know. Ice cream. He gave me ice cream. I was eating ice cream, and it must have dribbled down my front. Yeah, it wasn't ice cream. We know what it was. And anyway, my mum went mad. What's going on? She took me back to Gladys, my auntie's house, and was going mad. You know, what's going on? And then they rushed upstairs. They called my uncle Don, which is a police officer. He only lived round the corner in a station house. I thought it all happened with him, but he's brother not, but it didn't. It happened with this anyway. And he's obviously they come in and fucking found out that took me to hospital. Found out that I've been sexually abused anally. The guy upstairs, my uncle, my fucking uncle, yeah, he had sexually abused me, and my uncle Roy evidently nearly killed him. The police officer nearly killed him. He was known. Listen to this, right? My mum had been taking me in for ages and ages and ages. Yeah, he was known as a paedophile. He was chucked out of the army because he was a paedophile. My aunt Gladys and my uncle Ron hadn't told my mum. I mean, how can you not tell my mum that the guy they took me upstairs to see and stay with was a known paedophile? A known paedophile. And he was making me do things to him that made me maybe what I am today. I don't know, you know. Obviously, that made me a bit crazy. My mum, I was took, you know, to this, that, and the other. I don't know where I was took to, but then they rushed me to hospital because he had split me from my penis, right, my balls, the end of my balls, right to my arse, yeah, my anal passage. He split me right up, yeah. So I was in hospital for some time. My mum later on in my life told me that it was I had a cyst there or something like that because no one wanted to really tell me what had gone on. Anyway, you know, you get to know bits and pieces. I always thought it was my uncle Roy was a police officer, and it was his wife's brother that done it. But I was told, and this gets out. Now I'm told the truth. And anyway, so that made me a bit mad because this guy, he got put in prison for 7 years. So it must be really bad. Well, it was bad what he done to me, and it'd been going on for a long time. And what made it worse that no one really told me what had happened, who it was, because this guy could have come out of prison and he could have been like watching me. He could have been watching me. He could have, you know, you don't know him. He might have watched me and tried to kill me, you know. But I wasn't told this later on in my life. If later on in my life, if I'd have known this, come on, I'd have killed the guy. You know what I mean? I'd have killed him. I'd have found him. And I'd have killed him. I'd have cut his cock off and all these sort of things. I'd have killed him. You know, it's only normal that normal people would do that. You know, well, not normal people, but you know, I'm a bit abnormal, I suppose, in that way. But I would do that. You know, I would have killed him, and obviously he got away with it. He got away with it. He died, and this what's happened. And then after what happened, I become absolutely mad. I mean, I was getting really bad headaches then. This is one more I was getting headaches before because it's been happening, and I was getting really bad migraines, being sick all the time. My brothers and sisters were bashing me up a lot. I was going out the garden. And I was doing silly things like going downstairs in the basement, outside, but it was in the outside, and I was like finding spiders and feeding spiders fucking all sorts of things, worms, flies, everything. That's what you do as kids. I don't know, more likely is what you do. And one day I put a fly in there, spider rushed out and it touched my finger, and I killed every spider that was ever around, just killing spiders and going mad. And my mum just couldn't cope with it, she just couldn't cope with the way I was going. I was fighting 24/7, throwing food everywhere, and my mum couldn't cope with it. My mum just couldn't cope with what was going on, And anyway, all of a sudden my mum went back to I was at the school, and they said, look, we can't cope with Ray, like he's fighting 24/7. He's always fighting, going in the playgrounds, fighting with kids. We put his bags on his hands to stop him fighting. He held his bags and started fighting people in words, like a boxing glove, And he's got to stop. He's got to stop. He can't be fighting all the time, and he's getting himself in a right state. He's cutting his face. He's all this, that, and the other. Anyway, so they decided the best thing for me was to go in a home for a while. So my mum put me in a home I don't know where it was. I remember going to the station, getting on a train, because it was right station, right by where we used to live. Getting on a train and bump, going out and going a long way away, And I end up now, and obviously I know now we're at home in Wales, and it's a story that's really graphic, And I went to this home in Wales. I can't remember, I was about 5, 6 maybe, a young child, going to a home but by myself, not knowing what's going on. And all of a sudden I'm in a home, and they put me in these big dormitories with loads of other kids. Those kids maybe a bit older than me, but maybe a bit younger, not many younger than me, but I was one of the youngest, doing the same thing, always fighting, and this, that, and the other. And I kept noticing at night time, there was kids being took out the room. People were coming in the room, taking these kids out. Kids were crying, taking them in the room. I didn't know what was going on, but perhaps, I don't know what it. And then about hour later, hour and a half later, I'd wake up, a lot of the kids screaming and shouting and going back in their room, going back in the dorm, And I thought, what's going on here? It's crazy. And one day, they come and pick me up. They come and pick me up, dragged me out of my bed, and took me to this room that was down in the basement. But they took me through this door, went down these stairs, and there was all cubicles, like rooms, in this underneath the floorboards. It was like a room, proper big place. And they took me in this room one day, and and looking around, it was really nice bed. And I thought, oh, this is going to be nice, perhaps I can stay down here, And they put me in a room, and then someone would come in and talk to me. Very nice person, talk to me. I thought, very nice person, and they'd talk to me and they'd touch it, be playing around with me and bits and pieces, and they get me to do things to them, same things that I was doing to my uncle. I didn't know as a child if it was right or wrong at that stage. I knew that something was wrong because what happened to me before in the anal and the anal passage, what it done to me. So I didn't really know what else I had to do with this man. But it wasn't only men, it was also women. I was also doing it to women, and women were touching me up and doing other things to me. So I was a child that didn't really know what was going on, and they take you upstairs, back to your room, and I didn't really cry or nothing, because I didn't know what was going on at that time. And after a while, it was going on for a long time, I started to cry, come back to the thing, crying, and there's other kids going in, and we was all sort of like crying, sobbing at night time, going out in the day, going doing classes, going down the seaside and bits and pieces. So we didn't really know, didn't really say anything, because we was getting spoilt as such, going down the seaside and and this, that, and the other. But they had to, I suppose, in a way, they had to look after us the right way, getting nice food. And one particular time they took me down there, and I was in the room. I never really see any black people. I never see it. Maybe because I didn't really look, I wasn't really looking. I didn't really know if there was anybody masked up or whatever, you know. Because most of the times you're face down, you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing, and people coming in anyway. And I remember one time I could hear lots of screams, and you could hear lots of screams going on, you know, and kids no and shouting out no and all this that and the other, yeah. And this particular time, someone come in, a very posh gentleman, come in. You know, I don't know, it's a gentleman at that time. It's just a fucking normal person. You know, come in and playing with, got me to do things to him, and then he anal sexed me. And he anal sexed me, and because of all the anal sex, I don't know what it made any difference. I don't know if they knew that by my records. And then it was happening. It was happening most times, maybe once a week. And I mean, they've done things to me that now as a child, then as a child, you know, you don't really know it's right or wrong. You know, they're doing things to me, and I was in a lot of pain, and it was going on forever and ever and ever, and crying all the time. And this, and then one day, my mum come and picked me up. My mum come and picked me up, and obviously I was so glad that she picked me up, crying, and my headaches, and going home, and things that a kid wouldn't do, a child wouldn't do, going smashing the place up, and bits and pieces like that, and going downstairs. And I remember telling my mum what things that had been going on in this home, and she didn't really believe me because I'd been sexually abused before by my uncle, and my mum lovey-dovey me and bought me things, and everybody bought me things and chocolates and sweets and clothes and toys. So when I told my mum what was going on in this home, she thought that I was doing the same thing to get what I got before, sweets, toys, and this, that, and the other. I wasn't really bleeding downstairs because it had already happened before. Perhaps my own patch was that open that they could, anyway. So my mum didn't really believe me. It goes on and on and on later in my later life, yeah. So lots of things was happening. I was, as I say, I was fighting, and I know one particular time, it's not a nice thing to say. My mum died. She had a really hard life. I say 5 or 6 jobs in them days. That's what it was. We lived in one room, one big room. I was always having migraines. I was crying. My brothers and sisters always fighting with me, you know. But and then, you know, like your mum's, what they used to cook in them days was food you'd never believe. It was absolutely beautiful food. You know what I mean? And anyway, I was always, you know, I couldn't cope with being in a room with my brothers and sisters. Even I was always fighting what might happen to me. You know, it's happened to me before. You don't know what's going. You know, as a child, you just don't know. So what I used to do was go downstairs, in the basement, inside the house, and there was a coal shed, coal place right at the very end where they took the coal in, the coalman. I used to go there and hide. I used to go in there with all the coal. Was coal there because my mum had no money. People downstairs had no money. Anybody, you know, and people upstairs had no money. So it was still dirty. I was filthy dirty, you know, all the coal, black coal, what was there before. And I would go in there and play with spiders. It's crazy. You know, today I'm petrified of spiders, but I don't know, perhaps that's why. But I used to play with things like that. And one day, I caught a mouse. I couldn't believe it. I caught this mouse in this box. There was boxes in there, rubbish boxes, and I caught this mouse and put it in the box. And then I found this other box and made like a cage, put it in there with all bits and pieces. And I used to love it. I used to get spiders and things and feed it bits of cheese, bits of cake and bits of potato and feed it and feed it and feed it. Go in this in the coal place, you know, and hide. Mum would always be shouting and screaming. I know the lock on the inside where no one can get in there, you know. Obviously, Mum's going mad. Where are you, you little sod? And all that, and I'd keep down. I hope she don't find me any, you know what I mean? And my brother Keith, my big brother, knew that where it was, and one day he must have got in there and let my mouse out. I remember going in there, crying my eyes open, and I can't find my mouse. My brother said, oh, it's gone to heaven. It died. It's gone to heaven. This, that, and the other. And so I believed him, and I just, that's how it is. But I was going traumatised. I was always crying, doing the same thing, smashing the place up. And I remember one time, it's not nice of me to say it, but it is. But in the toilets in my basement, you never had toilet paper. You used to have paper, like like paper, reading papers, papers. Women used to whip them up and put them on a bit of string, and that's what you used to wipe your arse with. So it slide up your arse, the poo and all that. Your pants will be filthy dirty, and you get a clump by your mum because you didn't wipe your bum proper. But that's what it was in them days. Spider webs everywhere, freezing cold, freezing cold, poo all around the seats. This is what it was because there's other people living in the house, one toilet. And it was a bath. We had an old-fashioned bath, really old-fashioned old cast iron bath, with a pipe coming down and a big ascot, and filling the bath up. Anyway, but because no one had no money in the house, and it was all poor. When people had a bath night, all the kids, all the oldest boys used to use the same bath water. So you can imagine, it was black, dark, And this particular time, me and my brother got in the water, and it was dirty water, and mum puts a bar of carbolic soap in there, and we had to wash ourselves. And my brother was one end with the ascot and his pipe coming down. I was the other end. My brother used to throw water in my face, try and duck me under the water. I'd be screaming all the time. Mum couldn't take it. I mean, come on. My mum's by herself. She's got me driving her mad, screaming all the time, crying all the time. Comes down the bathroom like I'm going mad. She tried to put my brother's going crazy. She tried to stuck my brother under the water. He got hold of the nozzle on the ascot and she couldn't get it. So she turned to me. The water's black. The water's pitch black, and she put me under the water, and I just went unconscious. And I thought it was, obviously, so just went unconscious. So, I mean, and obviously my mum crying and crying and crying, didn't realise what she'd done, and pulled me out, whatever. And obviously I'm back to normal because I'm here now. But because of that, I can swim in swimming pool. I'm good as gold in swimming pool. When I'm walking past the Thames, over a bridge or anywhere, I have to walk on the outside. By the road, I'm petrified of falling in. I'm petrified of falling in the Thames, even though I can swim. The dirty water's fit the life out of me. I don't know what it is. It's something that's in me. I'm petrified. I'm petrified of dirty water. This has traumatised me. It's made me a bit mad, as far as water's concerned, dark water, because of me being ducked under the water. And then my mum, and then it gets worse and worse and worse. But I'm getting bigger and bigger now. I'm 7, 8, 9, 10, and I'm getting bigger, but I'm still doing the same thing. So what I used to do, when the fair come, to get away from all the problems in the house, and this, that, and the other, I'd go to the fair with my mate Bay. We'd drop to go to the park, go to the fair, and I'd get a job. I'd run around the fair, get a job. I think I'm about 10. Run around the fair, get a job doing the rifles with the corks on the end, and they'd be firing about and all this, that, and the other. And so I'd pick all the corks up from the floor, give the people the corks, and I decided, and I thought, this is a good little thing. This, I can knock over certain sweets into the thing, give it to the guy with the cork, and maybe I'd get something for it. Yeah, and I did. I was getting little bits of money, like 5 shillings and sixpences and footpences and pennies, and and all that. I thought, yeah, this is a good little job, and I love my little job. But my mum, well, she'd go mad. She'd go mad because now she's really frightened of what's happened to me as a child with my uncle, but she didn't really know about the thing in Wales because she thought I was lying, yeah. But obviously I wasn't, and So she come over the fair, petrified that something might have happened to me. So she come over the fair and see me. She said, "Get home, you little fucking," hit me around the head, and I got home and I'd be crying because I got a headache, migraine, and I got on and I was fighting my brothers and sisters all the time, get fighting. And it never stopped. It never stopped. We used to go to the park with my brother and play dirt fighting. How can you play dirt fighting? You know what I mean? and sometimes in the dirt there'd be stones, you get head cut. I remember one time my brother had bashed me up, Keith. He was a fucker, my brother was a bully, but that's life. The oldest brother, young brother me. So we go to the park, we're playing dirt things, and he's hit me with this fucking thing, really hurt me, you know. And I got home and I'm crying to mum and this, that, and the other. So he bashed me up indoors, yeah. So I want to fucking get you back, yeah. I want to get you back one day for this. And we was playing dirt fights, and I got this stone, massive stone. I wrapped it in this dirty old dirt, and I threw it at him on the head, cut his head. But not only did it cut his head, I got the biggest hiding in my life. He bashed me up. He bashed me up so bad, so bad. You know, like really bad. And I was in a bad way. I got home, I was smashed up my nose, my ears, I was bleeding everywhere. My mum asked me what happened. My brother told me, you tell your mum, you tell my mum, and you're in trouble. I will fucking kill you. Even worse than what you are now, the way kids talk. So I said, I fell off a wall, mucking about, and I got a clump from my mum for climbing the wall. It made it bit anyway. So then we're kids, I'm what, 10? And then we just go to the park and, you know, and see Sean Connery, you know, playing golf in the park, hitting the balls and bits and pieces. And then he gets to us, talk to us, James Bond, 007. And then he talk to us and say, look, you want to earn some money? Well, all the balls you find, he didn't want to pick balls up. All that money he had, the balls everywhere, yeah? You find balls, and I'll give you 2 shillings for every ball that you find. Flying 2 shillings. I went, okay, yeah, we'll find all these balls, and it comes to quite a bit of money, 10 shillings in, there's a lot of money, give it to your mum. And after a while, it was like every day got down here, but the wages become smaller and smaller because he knew we was at it, yeah. And anyway, his dog gave my dog pups and all this, that, and the other. And he come over, my mum bought a lot of big tin food and things for my mum to feed the dog and puppies and all that, you know. But we was very, as kids, with my friends, they were dropping other kids. We'd climb over the wall. We'd see him go out in his Aston Martin or whatever it was, or some fast guy, I don't know what it is now. Jump over the wall and get into the house. But Harry, the dog, loved us because we would always over the park playing with it. So he knew he isn't going to bark or bite us. He loved us wagging his tail, so we walking around the house. He had a beautiful place, all these big pictures of women and bits and pieces. And I remember going in the room and he had these guns, these 2 shotguns in there. And anyway, we got out again and doing the same thing, seeing him sometimes playing thing. And one day, he must have got burgled or something because they took the guns or something like that. Was what we was told. A big thing in the paper about it. And we was going over the park, and then it stopped. It stopped him giving us money for the balls. It's completely stopped. He was pissed off. We're kids. He doesn't know. We're kids. He doesn't know what's going on. Don't know we're the ones that nicked the fucking guns. And then he stopped it. Yeah, didn't really talk to us or nothing like that. And so that it went. You know, we lost it there. We lost everything. And so we lost what we were supposed to do, the work we was doing. We lost all that. And I said I loved it. Go back home. And on Wednesday or Thursday, I used to go swimming in Acton swimming pool. Clear water. I loved it. Loved it. And I was learning to swim. But if I couldn't swim, I'd go under the water, bounce up and down, go to the deep end, get back. And I was getting good. And there was a bully in the swimming pool. And one day he fucking he ducked me under the water, you know. It's crazy. I mean, he ducked me under the water and then he fucking killed me, man. I couldn't breathe. So I got up. I was going mad, smashing into him, and he ducked me under again, and he fucking knocked me out. And anyway, I jumped out of the pool, crying my heart like a child, as I was, 9, 10, 11, 10, I think. Right. And I went to the cubicle, and in the old cubicles, they had these wooden slats on the floor. I picked one of them up, you know, and I was waiting for him. And I smashed him across the head with this thing. He fell into the pool, bleeding everywhere. They dived in and saved him, and then they called the police on me. You know, I just said, look, I just sort of grasped myself, told them what I'd done, this, that, and the other, and they called the police and called my mum. Told my mum, you know, that, the way things are going, you know, what he's just done there, it could be a bit of thing. You know, this boy won't go into a special school if you don't get out, if you don't sort yourself out, you know. And anyway, and so I didn't go swimming anymore. I stopped going swimming because of that, and I stopped doing like fucking water, dark water, and all that. It's just, you know, but my mum, one day it was snowing, freezing snow. Also, my mum, I told you, my mum had no money, but I was, she didn't, she gave me 10, and she's married. She met a guy called Bob, who could become my stepfather yet, but anyway, my mum didn't have no money. She wasn't living with Bob, and I think he was this, and she gave me 10 shillings. He must have given my mum money. She gave me 10 shillings to go and get a bag of coal. I think this bag of coal was about 5 shillings, something like that, 2 and 6, but something like that. And I went to the shop with a barrow. She gave me a pram, a little pram to go and put the coal in. You know, as I say, I was 9, 10, so I'm up the road with this bag of coal. And so I went back with the money and the pram, going to the shops, freezing cold, snow everywhere, kept sliding over. When I got to the shop, put the bag of coal, I ain't got no money. I can't find the money. I'm going everywhere crying that I've lost the money. I'm going to get murdered. I'm going to get killed. My mum's not going to stand for this, you know what I mean? Can't find the money, man. I'm chasing the money. I can't find it. I'm chasing everywhere looking for it. I can't find it. Got home. My mum, where's the coal? Oh, I lost the money. My mum battered me, man. Battered me. Run down the stairs into the basement, into the coal place where the coal was when I was a child. Locked the fucking door. Wouldn't let no one in. Just kept crying and crying and crying. I'm so frightened of my life, yeah. Because you are as a child, isn't it? And coming out there, my mum just hugged and cuddled me and loved me and said how sorry she was, you know, and that's it. I lost the money and that's it. But my mum was the best person in the world. She's dead now, my mum, but she was the best person in the world. She was the best cook you could ever wish for. I mean, I can remember that as kids, when my mum used to cook bacon, you know, and liver and mashed potatoes and peas. I loved that. We used to get the bread, the crust of the bread, and dip it into the meat, into the liver, get all the juice and all that, and loved it, man. I loved that so much. And and then like obviously you get bigger. My mum married a guy called Bob, and he was the best man that could ever be. He's the best father that anybody could wish for. My stepfather, but he wasn't my real father. I loved him to death. He looked after my mum, but he didn't stand on shit. He was in one room, you know. He didn't stand on shit from anybody. We had 2 rooms, but mum and dad lived in one room, and we had the back room. The room we lived in was the front room, you know. And one day a letter come. I was about, well, I don't know. I was with a lot of boys. We've been doing shops, robbing shops, doing lots of things like that. You know what I mean? Robbing shops, just robbing shops, getting ladders, climbing up, going through the window, taking the tobacco, the chocolates, and everything. Giving mum bits of money and all, getting good money. Yeah? And anyway, we're still at the house. I get a job down a blacksmith down the road from my house. I go down there one day, looking around, picking up, cleaning, and the guy gave me a job, picking up metal. I'm a young kid, picking up metal, putting metal into racks. So I'm, you know, starting to get big and strong as a child. And I'm picking up this metal, putting these metals in the rack, and this, that, and the other, and doing drilling, and I mean, I was doing drilling, and all the wire that all the metal that comes off, I was trying to pull the metal down, cut all my fingers. I'm fucking hell, you know what I mean? But I'm learning the right things to do, and he's teaching me to do things. There's another guy in the blacksmith, horses shoes, and all that. And one day he's doing this staircase. He's got this big rod and thing. He put the thing over, he's like, and all the sparks come out, and the welding thing. He told me not to look at it, and I'm looking at it. And all night long I was crying. I had arc or something in my eyes, and all my eyes went funny, and I was 2 days screwing my eyes are thing, and really sore, and all this. And I had a, I started as a child digging the garden. I used to dig the garden up a lot, yeah. And in the garden, uh, behind behind the garden, there used to be a big coal bunker for the railway, and I used to climb over there and nick lumps of coal for my mum for the fire before she married my dad, Bob, my stepfather. But I used to climb over there and nick the coal, and my mum had the money, and this particular time, I'll never forget. My mum climbed over and got a big lump of coal, threw it over for me to take into the house. My brothers, my other two brothers and sisters wasn't like me. I was like a little shit, little sod, And I'm taking it into a big lump of coal, taking it into the house, and all of a sudden I could hear my mum screaming. They come down the thing, see my mum nicking the coal, and fucking hit my mum on the face, and my mum screaming, and fucked her off, and told her to go out through the gate and back again. You would get called the police. You hit my mum. You hit my mum. Who are you? You hit my mum. And I wouldn't stand for that. I wouldn't stand anybody hit my mum, mate. That's my mum. So one day, I climbed over there and I'm fucking hiding. And one of them come along and I hit him with this big shovel, coal shovel, yeah. I must have smashed him 10 times with this. I don't know what happened to him. I'm a child. I was only a child. I smashed him so much, his head was pissed with blood. I smashed all his face. I never started hitting him with this fucking. How dare they? If it is the right one, the wrong one, I don't care. But they hit my mum. How dare you hit my mum? My mum's my mum. It's not for you to hit my fucking mum, you know what I mean? And I smashed him to pieces. And I don't know what happened, but I got away with it. But I let them fucking whoever it was, anyway. My poor old mum, she never got over it, and she never climbed over again to get coal. I did. I was always over there climbing over there. They're chasing me from the coal bunker. I fuck them, you know what I mean? And I was so, I never hit anybody else again with a shovel because they never hit my mum. But if they'd hit my mum at any other time, they'd be fucking trouble. I'd have more like killing one of them in the way I was at the time. But that is it. I used to as a child dig the garden up. They're always digging. And this particular time, I'm digging round by an old aero shutter, but underneath it, a big old aero shutter.